Great news. Dirty Keto is now on Amazon. If you're living in the U.S., go straight to Amazon and get Dirty Keto. Watch it, rate it, and review it. If you're outside of the U.S., meaning Western Europe or Canada or Mexico, it's not there yet. Don't ask me why. Listen, those people made me put a PG-13 rating on it when there was nothing in it that would have caused that. But let's get ahead of this thing. Let's watch it, rate it, and review it. Go get Dirty Keto right now, and on with the show.
Thanks for listening to Vinny Tortorich on NSNG Lifestyle Audio. Welcome to the Fitness Confidential Podcast with Vinny Tortorich, founder of NSNG, and co-host Gina Grad. Brought to you by PureVitaminClub.com, the world's purest vitamins.
Yeah, he'll give you what you need. I am Vinny Tortorich, folks. You got intentions have been stolen, but don't worry, I'm here to help you get them back. You may be soft and succulent at the beginning of this process, but hang in there. Before long, you will be lean and mean, guaranteed.
Hey, it's story. Get about the troubles in life. Don't you know it's not easy when you gotta walk on that line. That's why you need. Ooh, that's why. Because what you need.
Yeah, in excess. She gives you what you need. Folks, she's back for another show. I'm talking about the beautiful Miss Teresa Strasser. How you doing, Teresa?
Thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
Vinny, can I tell your audience something about you? A behind-the-scenes Vinny story?
Go on.
Okay. Vinny, not that many people in this business have done me the level of kindness that you did. And, I like the hat.
Yeah, I forgot to change hats between shows. You're supposed to tell me, Teresa.
Love in case you're not seeing it, but he's got the NSNG hat.
Yeah.
So, no sugar, no grain. So, Vinny, I was trying to promote my book, and I can't remember. We text each other a lot about movies, so maybe we were texting, and you asked me how the book was going. There was a writer's strike when my book came out, and look, who knew that a book about baseball and grief wasn't going to fly off the shelves? And you said you should get on Mike Rowe's show. His audience is really, really loyal, and he's a great guy. You should get on there. Yeah. And I said, yeah, Vinny, that would be great. I don't know anybody there. And literally within 5 minutes, you had emailed, I think, Mike August, who's the booker on the Adam Carolla show.
No, actually, I emailed Chuck Klausmeyer. Yeah,
it was Chuck. You emailed Chuck. A lot of people will say, oh, let me put in a call for you. But literally within minutes, that was a personal connection of yours. You didn't even know me that well. You did me this huge kindness that wasn't going to benefit you at all. And in fact, it was a risk. I mean, what if I wasn't good on their show and I made you look bad? Anyway, you copied me. You wrote to him. You said, this is my friend. Her book's really good. You should have her on the show. And it was actually kind of a complicated process to get on the show because he didn't know me. He hadn't heard of me. So I spoke to Chuck for about an hour, and then I ended up doing his show. And you were exactly right. His audience, that's for the few weeks after I was on Mike Rowe's podcast. The way I heard it is the name of the podcast. Yeah. That was the most my book ever sold. And I still get messages from some of his listeners. And it's just something I've never forgotten. Maybe it wasn't a big deal to you, but it was one of the nicest things, honestly, that anyone's ever done for me. And I think you've since gone back on his show a couple of times. And I want to mention it because I think that his listeners are very loyal, and a lot of them have joined you here on your show. And I think there's a group of them. I think they're called Rovies. Correct me if I'm wrong. but he has a huge following on Facebook. I think he has over 6 million followers, and a lot of them decided, like, let's lose weight as a group communally, and they have followed NSNG. Am I getting it right?
Yeah, that you're pretty close. I was on the first time like a few years ago, and there's only been, at that time, there was only one other guest that had been on twice. And after about a year, I just wrote to Chuck, and I said, Chuck, you're not going to believe this. I didn't write to him to say, hey, can I be on the show again? I just said, Chuck, you're not going to believe this, but do you know what a Roby is? And he goes, a what? I said, a Roby. And we were on a phone call, and he goes, no. I said, well, after I was on your show, a lot of people, we have a free Facebook group, and a lot of these people came in, and they always ask people how they came in, and people started saying, the biggest show used to be the Adam Carolla show, but the Row people took over. And we know exactly how many people went into the group, and we were able to see, hey, I've lost 50 pounds, I've lost 75 pounds. We were able to get an average and look at the numbers and figure out that the people from the Mike Rowe show had collectively lost in excess of, see how that comes around? Of 1.2 or 1.3 million pounds. And those were just the ones we knew about in the group. This is not everyone else who might have followed along and never joined that group. So Chuck was like, oh my God, I got to tell Mike about this. And he goes, how do you spell Roby? And I'm like, I don't know, with a Y or an IE, I don't know. They just call themselves Robies, and that became a thing. So Mike hears about this. He thinks this is the most incredible thing he's ever heard. So they have me on the show a second time. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm one of two people now that's been on twice. Now we have Roby 2.0s. They started calling themselves that. Those people started losing more than 1 million pounds. Now we have millions and millions of pounds being lost because of me and Mike Rowe connecting and just talking for like an hour and a half.
And by the way, Chuck and Mike have been close friends since high school.
Yeah. And the three of us are all exactly the same age, and we all grew up kind of nerdy. We all have kind of the same demeanor. So when we end up in the same room together, it's almost like we all knew each other from 8th grade, right? We were all just nerds. And I think they were even nerdier than me because they had a barbershop quartet.
Oh, yeah. Mike was an opera singer.
Yeah, Mike's a weird bird. He could do it all. He's a very talented human being, a Renaissance man, if you will. And so you can only imagine when they invited me back for a third time. Now, last year we started a group called the Vinnie Tortorich VIP group, where it's an accountability group, where I come on twice a month. It's closed to just the people in the group. And we do 2 meetings a month where we talk to people in the group. Other people can sit and listen. Anyone can ask me questions and come on stage. It's like a call-in talk show, and we do it on the internet. And no, there's no limit. If you're in the VIP group, if it's 500 people that day, 800, it doesn't matter. Everyone gets to sit and listen. They can come in and talk and do whatever. I do that twice a month. And guess who joined the group this time around? One Mr. Mike Rowe and one Mr. Chuck Klausmeyer, and they've both been on the mic on the show. And this might sound like a shameless plug, but we've left it open for the Robies that are still rolling in. So if you go to Vinnie Tortorich, and I didn't mean to do this as an ad, but if you go to VinnieTortorich.com/row, you can sign up for the VIP group, and you would be in for the next meeting. This show is coming out in a couple of weeks, but the next meeting's on the 14th of of October. We do it twice a month. So by the time you hear this, you could probably hear the first show in November if you want to jump in. Yeah.
Well, it's a very difficult thing to do, and that's an understatement. I mean, everybody knows that it's difficult to quit drinking or doing drugs. And I think part of the success of 12-step programs is that they are communal, and you would have a sponsor or somebody to help keep you accountable. You would have support. You could go to 2 meetings a day. You could go to 90 meetings in 90 days. Well, losing weight is incredibly difficult because you can't just stop eating. You have to eat, right, to survive, but you have to eat in this new way. And I think part of the success of the Robies is that there's a communal nature, even if it's just on Facebook or in one of your VIP groups, that other people are doing it at the same time, and it's very helpful.
Yeah, and I'll do videos of exercises and put it in the group. It's all free. You join the group, but then there's no extra charge, right? You pay to be in that group. And so you have a little skin in the game, and those people talk to each other. They all become friends. It's a community like none other, and it's pretty amazing. And I'm in there twice a month doing the thing. One time we did 3 calls in a month. I did one in between. So it's a really cool thing. Chuck has been talking. Chuck has been coming in every week. Mike pops in from time to time. Anna Vocino comes in and does things. People love when Anna comes in the group and does a little sit in with us. So we have different celebrities who sit in and talk in the group. And you're right, it is like I have two people who are very close to me who are members of AA, right? And we do run the group kind of like AA. There's no judging. We never tell you you're an idiot for eating the way you eat. If you're a vegan, we never tell you not to be a vegan. We try to help you so that you can live the lifestyle you want and be in the group. We have a lot of those people. You're trying to help people on their own terms. And that's what we're doing there, right? And it's kind of cool.
Well, you meet people where they are, and I think that's part of your success. And I hope you don't mind. On Adam Carolla's show, where I was his co-host for many, many years. And we used to have this bit called Ask Kiss Rodeo. So sorry, I didn't mean to, but I wanted to just thank you. And all those years working with Adam, I feel like people constantly ask me, like, well, what's Adam Carolla really like? I think people are curious, like, what is he like off the mic? And the people who listen to you might be wondering. So, like, off the mic and for no credit and behind the scenes, you helped out an author struggling to sell a book, and Mike Rose listeners read. They read. Oh, yeah. And they like that really helped me. So anyway, that's what Vinny's like if behind the scenes. And also Adam, you'll attest to this, is exactly the same. There's no difference. Dr. Drew, if you and I were doing a bit and we called him right now and we texted like, we have a medical question, stop what you're doing, he would pick up the phone. Like, he's genuinely a generous person who is concerned about people's well-being. He is a genuinely nice guy.
Dr. Drew gets back to me on text quicker than anyone. There's 2 people that get back to me right away, and you would think, oh, these guys are busy. Dr. Drew and Mark Garagos. If I texted Mark right now, I guarantee you, if he's not in court, it's coming right back.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of, I'm picking up a conversation that we had a week ago, but you and I both love documentaries. Mm-hmm. Did you see the Menendez documentary?
No, Serena and I are going to watch that together. She started watching, she goes, oh, we got to watch together. I know Mark is involved in that, big time, right? And trying to get him out of jail.
This lawyer, Leslie Abramson, was the Menendez attorney, 4'11", just, big personality, big curly blonde hair. She really, I won't spoil it. We'll discuss it after you and Serena watch.
I will, because I had just moved to LA when the trial was happening, and I had nowhere else to go. And I would watch. I mean, they used to run those all day long. This is before internet or anything else. This is back in 91. I felt bad for those guys. It's like, okay, they did something really brutal. You know, they took a shotgun to their parents' heads and just kept pulling the trigger. You don't do that without anger, like a lot of anger. And my feeling was, the guy's like, my dad used to rape me with a toothbrush. This is all going on in the trial. You could see these guys were visibly shaken in the trial, like they were still visibly shaken over the treatment. And, of course, we learned later on that the father was like, I don't know, he's like an attorney for boy bands or something. Some of those guys came out and said, oh, yeah, this guy was sexually abusing us. I don't know if they talk about that in the documentary, but.
No, but there was. So when Leslie Abramson was defending them, there was a hung jury. I mean, she was able to, to create reasonable doubt. And then they had a second trial. That one wasn't televised. And as you know, they're into it. But times have changed in terms of how we think of sexual abuse. And so I think that's why people are interested in the Menendez brothers again, because Gen Z are much more aware that boys and men can be sexually abused. And I'm still like, there was a few suspicious things that they did after their parents died. But to your point, there's a legal concept. It's Latin. I'm going to butcher it, but it's res ipso loquitur. The thing speaks for itself, right? So if two brothers are shooting their parents with a shotgun at close range, something is wrong in that house.
Right.
And it speaks for itself. You don't, shoot your parents unless two people happen to be a complete sociopath, which could be. But yeah, you would think that something really dark and awful and abusive was going on in the house. Then they did go on a spending spree.
They bought Porsches and Rolexes and stuff like that, which that doesn't look good, right?
It doesn't. I
get it. It doesn't look good, but I don't know, like I couldn't imagine killing someone and then, that has to play over and over in your head, right? So I don't know how that affects you and, who knows what they were doing. But look, I mean.
Also, they were young. Like they were like 19 and 22. So you do stupid things and you might not understand optics. That was like the beginning. There was no social media then. So, people had one thing to be obsessed with, and it was that. And of course, it was in the wake of the OJ trial, and Garcetti needed a win because people were thinking, oh, celebrities can do whatever they want. They won't get convicted. It brings up a lot of really interesting points. So I can't wait for you to watch it. Do you actually want me to get to some news?
Absolutely.
Your listeners?
Let's do it.
Okay. If you were asked to name the healthiest vegetable, have you seen this story? You may have already seen it. But,
no, I haven't.
The CDC ranked fruits and vegetables, and they came out with one winner, and it's way above even the second place winner for the healthiest vegetable. Do you have a guess?
This is just my humble opinion, is going to be a cruciferous vegetable, or at least it should be. It's going to either be broccoli or cauliflower, because those have the most phytonutrients, and it's a cruciferous, so you're going to get a lot of nitrates and nitrites from it. So I'm going to go with one of those two will probably be considered the best.
Very good guess, and those are both high up on the list, but only one vegetable scored 100 points, landing it at the top of the CDC's list of most nutrient-dense veggies. And this has shocked the world. Are you ready for this?
I can't wait.
Watercress.
I almost did a leafy because, kale is also a cruciferous. But here's the deal. All right, so I'm glad you brought up veggies. No, I'm sorry, carnivores. I do not think veggies are out to kill you. I get it. They have protective enzymes in them, to protect them from being eaten and the whole thing. I do not think vegetables are out to kill you. There is value to vegetables, great value. And people say, well, which ones? And I always say, start with cruciferous. Is watercress in a cruciferous family?
Yes, it absolutely is. It's a type of cruciferous vegetable, and it belongs in the same family as kale, broccoli, Chinese cabbage, arugula, Brussels sprouts.
Yeah. So that's why I went with broccoli and cauliflower, because those two are high on the list. So anytime you're eating those, you're getting a bang for your buck versus eating something that's more watered down like a squash or a watermelon. These kind of vegetables, which are way down the list for me. So yeah, I see that. I can see that as being the thing. And whenever I eat vegetables, it's broccoli usually. My wife serves me, last night I had a big giant piece of fish, probably 12 ounces of fish, which I know is a huge serving, but I'm a growing boy. I like to keep my protein up. And there was some broccoli on the side. That's what I had.
Is that your most frequent? Like if you're having, and do you have fruits and vegetables with every meal?
No, I don't. I will do salad 2 or 3 times a week, but the salad does not look like most people's salad. Now, Gina Grad always had a problem with me in salad because I refuse to have salad on the same plate with a meat. I refuse to have meat ladled on top of my salad in any way, shape, or form. I don't want salmon with salad. I don't want steak chopped up over my salad. I do not want shrimp in my salad. I want these things separated. Okay? Separate plates. But the salad I have is going to always have either Bibb lettuce, because I like Bibb lettuce. There is no nutritional value to Bibb lettuce, folks. But if you want me to eat it, I'm going to eat that. I also like arugula because that's got like a nice peppery finish. So you can actually mix Bibb and arugula together. But the things that go in there are also finocchio. For the rest of the world, it's called fennel. I'm an old school wop. And there's a lot of avocado in there. There's raw onions. And usually we toast up a few pine nuts. And then we ladle Villa Capelli olive oil on that, salt and pepper. That's it. That's it. Now, do I have to have all of those things in a salad? No, I do not. But usually if you want me to take some of that salad, you better have avocado and pine nuts in it at the very least. Because if there's not a lot of fat in there, I'm just not going to eat it.
Well, also it's helping you absorb the nutrients that it's in your fennel.
Yeah.
In your, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, watercress also this is a buzzword. I feel like if you listen to health, diet, exercise, fitness podcasts, you've heard of sulforaphane.
Mm-hmm.
And watercress does contain that. Broccoli contains that. Broccoli sprouts, I think, have the highest concentration. If you're looking for the other powerhouse vegetables, the vegetables that didn't come in first but are in the top 5, watercress with a score of 100, that it is that nutrient dense, and it does have vitamin C, vitamin K. It's been linked to a lower risk of cancer. It's got the DIM. It's got the sulforaphane. But coming in number 2, Chinese cabbage, that's around a 91.99. Swiss chard at about an 89. Beetroot at 87. And then spinach, 86. You could throw all those in the salad with the pine nuts and the avocado.
Yeah, like I said early on, the sulforaphane and all this different kind of stuff. You're going to get, that's all the phytonutrients I'm talking about. That's where you want to be with this stuff. You want bang for your buck. I think, did you mention Brussels sprouts in there? Because I always thought they had a lot of sulforaphane in there.
Yes, Brussels sprouts are in the same family with watercress, cruciferous, with kale, Chinese cabbage, arugula. But I think that the broccoli sprouts are the holy grail for a sulforaphane. I try to eat them. They're always out of them at the grocery store near me. Maybe it's a fad. They're pretty gross to eat, frankly. I try to put a few on my salad, but they're just bitter. And they're gross, but I make myself eat them.
Yeah, Yeah, there are things you could do with vegetables. If you turn them into like kimchi and all this kind of stuff, you have your body absorbs that stuff better. It's good for your gut bacteria and all that. So,
I have sauerkraut on my salad every day.
Not a bad idea. That's why you look so young and beautiful.
Stop it, shucks. Do you do the kimchi or the kombucha?
No, I don't do the kombucha. There's just too much sugar in it. And so I generally don't. Do you know who Mickey Hargitay was? He's no longer with us.
Mariska's dad?
Mariska's dad. He was married.
Jane Mansfield's
husband. Mm-hmm. One of them. And all of Jane Mansfield. No, I think Jane had children with her first husband, but she had 3 with Mickey.
Mickey.
And they were in the car with when Jane died. Little Mickey, Zoltane, and Mariska were all in the car in Mississippi when she died. At any rate, Mickey Hargitay was the first Mr. Olympia, long before steroids were used. And if you saw his body back in the day, he was amazing. He had an amazing.
He was ripped. Yeah, and you're right. People didn't look like that then.
Right. There were other guys who were ripped who never took. That's why people, can you get it's like, yeah, those guys looked so much better. The Mickey Hargitays, the Steve Reeves, all these guys that became, big, action stars. They played Hercules and this and that and the whole thing. All these guys kept big muscles by eating a lot of eggs, a lot of red meat and all this kind of stuff. I got to know Mickey later in life. I lived in their guest house back in those days when I was doing the conch shell shoots and all that.
Modeling.
I lived in the Hargitay guest house. He used to try to get me to go out with Mariska. He was like, "Hey, you want to go out with my daughter?" I was like, Mickey, she's an actress. She's trying to make it in the world. I don't date actresses. And of course I ended up marrying an actress. So, but
I didn't realize you'd had a policy.
Yeah. I learned very quickly in LA, stay away from actresses.
Because they're too needy?
Needy, nutty, all the N words. Just stay away from them. Yeah.
So he tried to hook you up with his daughter, and you said no.
No, she wasn't my type. And she wasn't kind of my type. She looked a little too mannish or something. And that's not, because Mariska Hargitay seems like a lovely woman. But I was young and she was young. We're about the same age, right? We're both the same age. And I was like, not really my look type of thing. And I'll never forget, he called me and goes, "Hey, Mariska's just got a new show. Would you like to come up to the house and watch?" And I wanted to, but I had some clients to train. He goes, "We're having a little watch party at the house, at the main house." I was living in a guest house. And I was like, "What's the show called?" He goes, and he still spoke with an accent. He goes, "It's Law and Order." And I said, "Oh, Mickey, that's not a new show. It's been on." He goes, No, it's a special Law and Order. It's a different Law and Order. And she's the star. And I was like, Mickey doesn't know what he's talking about. I think turns out the show is still on the air from what I can tell. And she's one of the richest actresses. Run. Yeah, one of the richest actresses in the world.
She is one of the most successful actresses
in history.
In the world. Yeah.
But Mickey would always drink, he made kombucha. Right? He always had a big thing of kombucha on the counter, and I would have kombucha with Mickey, and he made kimchi and all that. He did it all himself. And, he had, it's called the mother. Like once you make it, that, all the enzymes and all the crap is in there. You just keep pouring in. Yeah. I used to get fresh kombucha, like the real, no sweet kombucha. He had the real thing.
What country was he from?
Hungary. They're Hungarian.
I'm Hungarian. I should know this.
Yeah.
My people.
He's your people.
Where do you stand? This is probably a stupid question, but speaking of fermented foods and probiotics, where do you stand on yogurt, like full fat yogurt?
As long as it's a live cultured yogurt, I eat yogurt almost daily. I'll have yogurt every day. Live cultured yogurt. No, I switch around. And also, if I don't have yogurt on that day, I will have kefir, which is drinkable yogurt. And I'll tell you what I do in the summertime, and it's very, very refreshing. And this is a Middle Eastern drink. I'll take some full-fat kefir, pour it, about that much in a cup, about a quarter cup, maybe a third of a cup. And then I'll take soda water and dump it in that and put some Maldon salt in there and stir it up. Yeah, delicious. It's refreshing on a hot day. So that's another way I get my yogurt in, by doing, drinkable yogurt. And you could do it with hard yogurt too.
Probiotics, prebiotics, nobody used to talk about those. Sulforaphane, these are all new concepts.
Yeah. Yeah, guys like me were saying,
cultures that eat them.
When I started using the word cruciferous on this podcast 13 years ago, people were like, what's that word you keep saying? It's like, just go look it up. I'm a nerd. I'm just a nerd that knows all this stuff. People think I'm a one-trick animal. Oh, he's Mr. Low Carb. No, I eat these other things, right? If I don't have yogurt on any given day, I'll have cheese. Now, one of the things I've stopped for a long period here, and I never recommend it on the podcast, but I'll go through a lot of raw eggs, because I'll put the yogurt in the blender and I'll crack maybe 6 or so raw eggs in there and whip it up and just drink that, as my protein drink. Excuse me. But ever since
the salmonella chino, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's why I don't recommend it on the show, because I've gotten salmonella over the years. Once from raw chicken, not completely raw, but it wasn't cooked well enough. And that only happens once. And I gave myself salmonella once from raw eggs. But they've pretty much beaten the salmonella out of the raw eggs. But you see, we've had the avian flu come through the egg population. So I quit doing that about a year ago. I'm cooking my eggs all the way through. Plus, my immune system I've been immunosuppressed because of the cancer I just went through. So I haven't had a raw egg in a blender in probably a year now, getting close to a year, because of the avian flu and then my own cancer. So,
Vinny, do you feel 100%? I know that your treatments are over, but you look 100%. Do you feel as good as before?
I'm getting there. I'm close. I was thinking about that. I was out in the boat. I was in the Skull yesterday rowing, and I see because I stay in zone 2 when I do aerobic exercise. And I did about 90 minutes in the rowboat, and I noticed my times are coming down and my heart rate is staying in that zone 2, below 80%. So since that's happening, it's like, oh, and I get to see once a month now, my blood numbers are getting stronger and stronger. My hematocrit finally got back up into the 40s. I usually walk around, because I'm this aerobic freak that just trains you around, and I climb mountains. My hematocrit usually sits at 47, 48, and it dropped down to like 27, 28. Excuse me. So when I was doing aerobics during my sick period, I was moving like an old man, like Joe Biden on a rowing machine kind of look. But I was doing something, right? And that's the way I've been. Yeah, I'm getting better and better. I noticed my times coming down in the boat. I noticed my times on the rowing machine and on my bike. I'm doing better. And if you know what you're looking at, if you're looking at your heart rate and you're looking at the amount of energy you're putting out, my heart rate is staying the same. My energy level is going up. I'm able to put more power into the pedals or into the oars or whatever I'm doing, right? So that's how you tell. Plus, I'm getting blood work all the time.
I didn't realize it was that it was that difficult to row when you were in the heart of treatment, because I just think of you as somebody who's like always strong and always has stamina and always fit. So that must have been really frustrating for you.
Not really. It wasn't frustrating because I don't allow myself to get frustrated. One of the things, I kind of look at things as being comical. At one point, I got on the floor to do some push-ups while I was going through chemo, and I was able to do four push-ups. And it was like, oh, my God. It's like I couldn't get a fifth one out. it was really difficult, right? So I just look at it as, because I don't know if you know this, but my leukemia is the same that Gina's dad had. He's no longer here, and he was a very fit man, So I look at that and go, at least I did 4 push-ups. I'm not in the grave. Makes a big difference.
Well, that's the kind of mindset that helps you to get through, as well as having a sense of humor about it. Because you're right, 4 push-ups is a lot more than a lot of people can do. And frankly, I can't really do 4 push-ups perfectly healthy. I got to put my knees down.
Well, that's something that, if you ever want to work on it, I can get you to 20 if you want from your feet. It just takes a long time to get there. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like I'm never going to have that kind of upper body strength.
Not with that attitude, you're not.
I know. My attitude's the worst.
Yeah. You got to, conceive it, believe it, achieve it. You got to conceptualize, can I do this? Then you have to believe in yourself, and then you can achieve. Think about it. It's like anything else you do in your life, and I know you have it in you. You got a letter to one of the greatest baseball players of all time, Cal Ripken Jr., and he wrote he wrote on the back of your book. It wasn't the forward, was it? What did he do?
He wrote a blurb. They call it a blurb.
Yeah.
Yeah, he blurbed, and his quote is actually, part of his quote is on the front of my book, because my publisher, Penguin, was like, wait a second, Cal Ripken Jr. has endorsed your book? We have to, so on the front of my book, it says, a wonderful book, Cal Ripken Jr., then the full blurb is on the back. But yeah, I still can't believe that, that he wrote that.
But but you see, you went after it.
I went after it so hard. That's all I thought about for days was like this letter that I was going to write to this person I'd never met. And I just thought, like, what is the one name I would want on the cover of my book about baseball? The one name that everybody, even if you've never watched an inning of baseball, the name Cal Ripken Jr. Yeah. And I just Googled how to find him, found a bunch of random email addresses, and then I just thought, like, I have to write the best letter I've ever written in my life. Like, I have to learn everything about Cal and try to appeal to him. And yeah, I guess I'm much better in writing than I am in talking, which isn't a great endorsement for me as your podcast co-host, but I am much more comfortable in writing.
Well, that same thing that you use to get Cal Ripken, that same attitude is how you get to 20 push-ups. Right?
I mean, that's kind of, that is interesting because nobody could break a 4-minute mile, right? And then, what was it? What's his name? Roger Bannister?
Roger Bannister was the first one to do it. Yeah. And then everyone kept toppling it.
And then everybody could do it.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe it was something mental where there was like, no one can run faster than a 4-minute mile. Then when it's possible, now all of a sudden, after he broke that, everyone could do it. Not everyone, but a lot of people could do it.
Yeah. One of the things we did with my younger brother, Mark, who was a better athlete than me, is we lied to him. He would say, like, he was in 8th grade, and he said, how old was Vinny when he was able to dunk a basketball? Well, I was a freshman when I first dunked a basketball. But we said, 7th, 8th grade, something like that. So the preconceived notion is now out of his head. Guess who dunked a basketball in 8th grade? Right?
It's incredible. The mind body, it's just, we've barely begun to understand just how deep it is, like how the placebo effect real.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everything he would ask was like, when did Vinny first bench press 300 pounds? I don't know. Yeah, he was this, and we just made up all kinds of stuff, and he just did it. Because Smart. He was like, wait, it can be done. Someone else did it, right? So you can do 20 push-ups, and you could carry that over into anything in your life. I talk about this book all the time on the show. One of my New Year's resolutions this year when I got to the end of the book, was to start over again and just keep reading it over and over and over. I started reading this book when I was 13 years old, when I was in the bed with in a body cast. And it's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I've read that book over the years. I just kept reading it over and over. I always kept a copy. And then I got it on Audible. And one of my New Year's resolutions was to listen to it when I got to the end, start over again and just keep listening to it, because that's the way transmutation works. All of the books that came after this, like The Secret and all these books, all deal with transmutation. All of that was stolen from Napoleon Hill. Do you know who Napoleon Hill was?
No, I've only heard his name from you.
Napoleon Hill was a journalist who was hired by Andrew Carnegie, or if you're a douchebag, Andrew Carnegie. And he, Andrew Carnegie said, I need you to write down all of the stuff, because, as you know, he became one of the richest men, one of the richest industrialists of his time. And he knew all of the other rich industrial, all the inventors and the whole thing. So Napoleon Hill had a front seat to all of it and just wrote it all down and put it into a book called Think and Grow Rich in the 1930s or 40s. I can't remember when it was first written. And it's well worth reading over and over and over, because the way you get anywhere in life is all you have to do is conceive. You have to have some conception of what you want. And then you have to really believe you can do it. And then you just let it transmutate. You're going to end up meeting the people you need to meet, right? If you just keep thinking, I can call this person, and then that person Vinny can call Chuck Klausmeyer, and Chuck Klausmeyer can call Mike Rowe. That's the way that works. Does that make sense?
I think it's so interesting that there was a precursor to The Secret, and now, of course, like, everybody thinks of it as manifesting. I'm going to manifest this, right. But it's really just, if you believe it's possible to run a 4-minute mile, it becomes possible.
Yeah. And everything we've ever done in this world as humans. Look, I grew up on a bayou in Louisiana. No one makes it off of the bayou, right? No one wants to leave. Why leave? Why get out of there? It's a wonderful place. Where are you going to go? Right? But some people like me want to leave. There was in the mid to late 70s, there was a sport, and I've told this story on the show several times. There was a Sports Illustrated. You know what? We're going to shut this show down. Let's do the next show, and and here's what I want you to bring up. I want you to bring up
Sports Illustrated and getting off of the bayou. And I made a note.
Yeah, and we'll do that next week on the show, because it's too long of a story to start right now. So we'll do that next week. Does that sound good?
I'm looking forward to it.
Folks, you just heard us talk about Cal Ripken Jr. and the book. That book is called Making It Home. Cal Ripken Jr. read that book. You want to read what Cal Ripken Jr. is reading? Go get that book, Making It Home. Teresa Strasser, famous author. She's right here on this show. Go get that book now. You know what? We should have Teresa come in to the VIP group one night and do a little talk with us. How about that?
I'd love that.
Would you like to come in, Teresa, and sit in with us?
Anytime.
Maybe on Monday or whenever you want to?
I will be there. Yeah.
Write to me after the show. I'll make sure Chris gets you in, and we'll get you, and you can sit in with us on the show. How about that?
I'll be behind the velvet rope with you.
Yeah. There you go. Folks, you know what to do. My movie Dirty Keto is out there burning gas on Amazon. Before you go to Amazon, go to VinnyTartaries.com. Puts coal on the fire, gets my train down the track. We're able to keep this show free for a gazillion years in a row. So go and do that. Everything reminds me of a song, and today is no different. We were talking about the boy who was born on the bayou. So we're going to leave here with a little something from CCR, Creedence Clearwater Revival. On behalf of Teresa Strasser, my name is Vinnie Tortorich. Put life into living and do it with these guys.
Listening to Fitness Confidential. Get more information at VinnieTortorich.com. Remember to rate and review us on iTunes and follow Vinnie on Instagram and Twitter.